Did the PS Vita 2 just leak for real? Now we know when the next showcase is happening, and why are gamers furious about GTA 6? How's it going, everyone? Welcome to PSReady. I hope you had a great weekend. I definitely did, because I finally got more time to dig into Resident Evil 4, and I'm only about halfway through the game at this point, but I'm just gonna say it. This might be the best game I've ever played, because Resident Evil 4 is already my favorite game, and this is better. So just like objectively speaking, this is the best game. I've talked about it here on the channel before. I have a lot of good memories with Resident Evil 4. My grandpa took me to Circuit City on my birthday when my mom wouldn't let me buy M games, and he bought me an E game, and I was able to put the two discs for the GameCube version inside the E games case, and then I snuck it by my mom, and my friends and I played this game so much. It's one of the only games my dad has ever like sat down to watch, and he actually enjoyed it, and I've played it pretty much every year since. I played the GameCube version, I played the PS2 version, I played the good PC version, I played the Nintendo Switch version, I played the Wii version, and now I have this new remake, and it's just better in every single freaking way. I think it's really cool that for a game I literally know like the back of my hand, it's still feeling like a new game, and that's really because, like with Resident Evil 2 remake and 3 remake, they're moving things around in some places but keeping the big set piece moments like El Gigante or the lake monster exactly the same. But after you beat the lake monster, for example, you get the boat and you can just explore the lake and go to different docks and find all these new treasures, and the Red 9 is in a different spot. It's just really cool to see all the same stuff there that I expect, but have it mixed up to make it new and interesting. Also, Ashley, she looks awesome now. She's got a really cool outfit. She's like cool to have around. Leon all the time. Her voice acting's way better. She's way less annoying. She behaves better. Like, a lot of people were curious if they're gonna go to Resident Evil 5. I saw the after credit scene for this game. They're definitely remaking Resident Evil 5, and just having Ashley's AI be so much better, you can see that they're testing that out for Resident Evil 5 with Sheva, which is great. As far as the weapons go, they all feel awesome. There was an issue on the Xbox Series X where there was a massive dead zone, but on PS5, you don't have that issue. I was using the Punisher for a lot of the game. I spent my spindles too early, which is another cool thing. You now get spindles as an upgrade currency through doing side quests, which were already in the game before, but now you can actually track them, which is great. So I used the Punisher fully upgraded for a lot of the game. And then I got the Red 9 early, and that's usually my go-to gun. But this time, for the first time ever, honestly, I decided to just focus on the Blacktail, and it just essentially turns you into Leon from the CGI movies. It's incredible. I did the shooting gallery. I spent like 2 hours on it yesterday. Just an incredible experience from top to bottom, and it runs so well. It's just locked at 60 FPS all the time. You do get some traversal stutter, but I'm really not holding that against them in the same way that I would something like Dead Space, because in Dead Space remake, it happened every 10 minutes. In this, it's happening between massive areas, and I know people don't like when characters like shimmy between walls. That happens a couple times in this game. I noticed it in the castle, but overall, you're just moving from area to area, and the lighting changes, the scenery changes. It just like does it all on the fly. So I can forgive like 1 second of frame time spiking. You know, it's not that big of a deal, because in the battles, it's totally fine. I'm assuming most of you already played this because it was able to get 3 million sales in 2 days, which is crazy. It's just a really good remake overall, and honestly, it's getting me excited for them to remake 5 and 6, because if they remake 5, they're gonna remake 6, and if they do 5 in the same way they handled this remake and 2 and 3, where they change the things that need to be changed but keep the core of the game exactly the same, I think it's gonna be awesome. I hope 5 and 6 lose co-op though. I think we just need AI characters, because co-op is what really made those feel like action games to me versus something like Resident Evil 4 where you have AI partners. It still feels like survival horror somewhat, instead of just straight on Call of Duty style action with monsters. So yeah, I'll link Resident Evil 4 down in the description at Best Buy. If you use that link and pick up a physical copy there, I get like a very small kickback. I would really appreciate it. But yeah, not a sponsored review in any way. I absolutely love the game. So far, 10 out of 10, maybe even an 11 out of 10. Next up, let's talk about why gamers are furious about GTA 6. Now this game, surprisingly, despite the fact that Rockstar has only teased it in press releases and other things like that, we know a lot about it just because so much of it has leaked. I personally see gameplay leaking from this, like damage tests and like carjacking tests and things like that on TikTok all the time. And it's not like those weird Unreal Engine 5 videos where it's like, what if we remade Vice City in Unreal Engine 5, or like a Hulk game or something, and then they just walk around really slowly and it's just like actual clickbait for Twitter where they can share share a video of it and it looks cool, but then you see that no one's actually playing the game. The gameplay I'm seeing on TikTok is nothing like that, and it looks like a generational leap over GTA 5, which is awesome. I mean, it's been, what, like 10 years since GTA 5 came out? It should look like a generational leap, and because of that, it's not coming to PS4 and Xbox One. There have been so many reports about this, but one big verified one happened over the weekend, and now people are just saying, yep, this game is not coming to PS4 and Xbox One. It will be on PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC only, and a lot of people are mad about this, which at first was surprising to me because I just assumed it would be a next-gen only release, mainly because, you know, Red Dead Redemption 2 looks as good as it does, and you know, it has problems running super well on the Xbox One and PS4, so if they're going better and bigger than that, you would think this would be next-gen only, and it's a single-player game, right? And then I was like, oh, GTA Online, the biggest multiplayer game in planet Earth, basically, that people buy over and over again and spend so much money on shark cards, and they build up these libraries of cars and real estate, and they have like a whole drug empire now built into the game. So yeah, I could kind of see why people who are still on the last generation of consoles would be kind of nervous about this game only coming to the next gen, because they have all of this content saved up in Grand Theft Auto Online, right? And they don't want to throw it away, which I kind of get on the one hand, but on the other hand, Grand Theft Auto Online in GTA 6 is going to be a completely new game, right? Like, it's going to have all the new mechanics, presumably, that the new version of GTA brings along with it, and that's not something you could upgrade GTA 5 from, because at the end of the day, whether you're playing it on last gen consoles, you're playing it on the Pro models, the One X and the PS4 Pro, you're playing it on PC, or you're playing it on the PS5 and Xbox Series X, you're still playing a game that originally came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360, right? Like, it just has those limitations already built in, and they're not going to be able to upgrade it from the ground up to be a next-gen, truly next-gen experience. Because games like Resident Evil 4, which just came out, are still coming out on the Xbox One and PS4. I mean, Resident Evil, for example, like, it runs really well on the PS4 and Xbox One. It's a 30 FPS experience for sure, but you keep a solid resolution, you keep a lot of the effects there, which isn't a huge surprise just because it's built in this new RE engine, which has been scaled down to the Switch very successfully. Every Resident Evil game up to this new Resident Evil remake runs super well, even on the Steam Deck. Like, I was playing Resident Evil 2 remake on my Steam Deck, and you can run it at basically very high settings at almost a locked 60 frames per second. So this is a really good engine that kind of explains why it's on PS4. Same thing with God of War Ragnarok. I mean, that was just built in the same engine as God of War 2018. It looks a lot better when you play it on PS5, but it looks about as good, if not a little bit better, on PS4 as well. Horizon Forbidden West started out as a PS4 game, wasn't shocking to see it there. Gran Turismo 7 was the only one where it was like a PS5 game allegedly from the beginning, and then they decided to backport it, and you can definitely see the effects of that in that game specifically. People have been conditioned to expect PS4 releases of all the biggest games, and this year, at the very least, they're going to start seeing a lot of the biggest games start moving away from the PS4, like Final Fantasy 16 and of course Jedi Survivor, which just had its previews come out, and that game looks like huge, like a massive step up from the original game. But still, people are going to be upset that they can't play the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order on their PS4 and PS4 Pro, because that game has gotten great patches and it was made free and like $5 so many times that people are just kind of expecting probably Jedi Survivor to be on PS4. And like the Hogwarts Legacy, the biggest game of the year, hands down, that's allegedly coming out on PS4. I'll believe it when I see it. That's coming out really soon, allegedly. But yeah, if you have all these games coming out on last gen consoles, I could see why, especially with GTA Online, people are expecting this game, GTA 6, to also release on last gen. Personally, I think it's time to cut the cord. If you can get a PS5 at the store, which you can go to any store right now and pick one up, or you can use my links in the description, which I would highly recommend, you will have a great experience, right? Just grab a PS5, the God of War Ragnarok bundle, you get my game of the year in 2022, and then just buy a year of PS Plus Extra, and make sure you also redeem the PS Plus collection. You're good to go with upgraded PS4 games and some native PS5 games like Resogun and now Sackboy Big Adventure and Horizon Forbidden West. Like, the time is now to buy a PlayStation 5. And I guess that brings us to our next story, which is this heavily rumored, anticipated, desired PS5 showcase. It has been way too long since Sony's had a PS5 showcase, in my opinion at least. Like, we've had some pretty decent state of plays. I think the best one they did was the one that showed off Resident Evil 4 gameplay, obviously, and announced Street Fighter 6. That was a long time ago. We haven't had a PS5 showcase since before then. This one's coming from the second place leaker in my book, Jeff Grubb. The first place always goes to Tom Henderson. We'll talk about why in the next news story. But yeah, this guy, fairly reliable, I would say, with his leaks. He's always sure to cover himself and say this stuff is subject to change. But if he's saying it with confidence, I feel pretty safe believing him. He's saying that this showcase will definitely happen between now and Summer Game Fest, which if you look at the calendar, Summer Game Fest is like June 8th or 9th. So it's fair to say that the next PS5 showcase is going to happen between now, April 3rd, and when I'm recording this, and June 8th or 9th, whenever Summer Game Fest actually starts. And honestly, I don't know how much credit I want to give him for a leak like that. Like, I could have just said, hey, a source told me we're going to get a PS5 showcase before E3 time, you know, around June, and everyone would probably believe me because it just makes sense, right? Like, we're definitely going to get a Nintendo Direct. We know Xbox is having a showcase where they're going to show off Starfield and announce some new release dates for all those games that were coming out in the next 12 months last June, and then all got delayed. And it would be really weird to have Sony just have nothing, especially when all we have to look forward to between now and the end of the year is Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. I'm laughing because it's like all we have to look forward to. Those are probably two of the most anticipated games ever right now that Resident Evil 4 is out, obviously. I think we really do have a big showcase to look forward to here from Sony. I mean, Ben Studio's been working on stuff. Sucker Punch has been working on stuff since Ghost of Tsushima came out. I know that they released the Ghost of Tsushima director's cut pretty recently, but like that's not taking up the whole studio's resources to make a PS5 port of a game that already had a PS5 patch. And if you look at the expansion, it kind of feels like cut content from the main game to begin with. Like, you can play it at any point of the game and it totally makes sense. So yeah, I feel like Ghost of Tsushima 2, at least the announcement is right around the corner, especially when you consider that Ghost of Tsushima's movie is like rapidly ramping up development. And this movie is being directed by the ultimate Chad, the director of John Wick 4, one of the best movies I've ever seen. I went and saw it again on Friday, and I might go see it again this weekend just to take advantage of the fact that I can see those action scenes with tons of guns in IMAX because the sound is absolutely incredible. So knowing that people are obviously going to be hyped for a Ghost of Tsushima movie, they got to get the ball rolling on a sequel to the game so they can release it around the same time of the movie. I hope they delay it if it needs it, because we're looking at the situation with The Last of Us on PC and it's horrible right now. I don't want that to happen again. But after seeing Naughty Dog's statement where they said all of our games going forward are going to be developed in tandem for PlayStation and PC, I think we could start expecting to see some PC announcements at these showcases like Ghost of Tsushima. Apparently Nix's wasn't working on The Last of Us because they've been working on a PC port of Ghost of Tsushima for a long time now. I'd love to see that. So yeah, I'd like to also see some stuff we don't know about and hasn't been rumored, because Sony actually does a good job of not letting their stuff leak out to the public, unless you're talking about their newest studio, Bungie. And the last update I have for you guys today is coming from the #1 leaker, Tom Henderson. He's been talking about PS hardware a lot lately. We have the PS5 Pro allegedly coming out next year. We've got the PS5 Slim coming out this year with the detachable disc drive. He leaked 2 headsets, one that seems like an updated version of the Pulse Wireless 3D headset, the other which seems like a pair of gaming earbuds, which honestly I'm super excited about because this seems like a thing that people are asking for. I've seen a ton of TikToks lately about the Razer Hammerhead earbuds that are PlayStation branded and come with a dongle that basically make them a headset for your PS5. Honestly been looking at those, but I want to see the Sony version first. And now he's teasing new hardware over on his YouTube channel that's not the PS5 Pro, that's not the PS5 Slim, and is coming this year. Now, a lot of people immediately jump to the Vita 2 and we're immediately thinking like, oh, well, what if it's like a cloud streaming device like the Logitech G Cloud? And immediately when I read that, my heart dropped, but then I thought about it for a sec, and I don't think, if it is going to be a handheld, right? I don't think it's going to be a streaming type of handheld. Like, I think it'll have that capability, but I think we could be expecting something like a Vita 2 to be announced because, you know, they already have the Backbone controller, right? Like, why announce a streaming cloud handheld when you can just do a quick and easy partnership with Backbone, make it white, have the PlayStation buttons, and tell people to connect their phone to it and stream from their PS5. And before you sit there and tell me like, oh, the game's too advanced for something like that, I'll just point at Resident Evil Village, because if you play The Last of Us or The Last of Us Part 2, they're basically Resident Evil games, right? The Resident Evil games with more emphasis on cutscenes. You get the same weapons, same upgrades, you're fighting similar enemies. Like, it's an action-focused Resident Evil game with higher production value and more focus on story. So I feel like it would be totally fine for them to do some sort of VR mode for that game. But no, we got Horizon. So I think it's pretty fair to say that the PSVR 2 is not selling super well, and that getting people excited for a handheld right now would make a lot more sense when you look at stuff like the Steam Deck or the Nintendo Switch and how successful they are. I think the time is absolutely right for a Vita 2, because the Switch Pro is just nowhere to be seen, and Doug Bowser or whoever over at Nintendo has been saying lately, we have a long time, at least a few years, before we'll see new hardware from Nintendo. So if Sony can get out before whatever the Switch 2 is, I think that would be awesome. They just need to have games to support the hardware, because that's always their mistake with handhelds. It sucks.